part 1 of how to do a repaint in 10-minute lessons. Today we're going to do this version of the Eurocopter EC135. I've already picked out the model in over here. These are the black and white files. I've already got it open in Photoshop. And what I'm going to do is just start off with easy stuff. There's a black outline around the windows, which the current model already has. I never set the straight black, so you always set your opacity to 8, default to D to be black, but it'll be more of a charcoal gray. Then you just hit select. Always make sure mode is set to multiply, so that way it doesn't crowd out the panel lines. So what we're going to do right here, and you notice this little white gap here. Just hit B. Also set your opacity to 8. Just kind of click on that. Careful you don't drown it out. Alright, so now if you look at the picture, you'll notice that it kind of continues. It's a continuous line all the way back and then around to the front. I was trying to click the wrong window. So what we're going to do is right now I'm going to make the areas I want all black. Always check your reference. So as you see here, I've already screwed up. Anytime you make a mistake, close that. Good doing that. Anytime you make a mistake, just hit Control C. As you see here, that is how we want it done. There is a little bit of an outline around these windows. So what we're going to do, select, left shift, select again, and that outlines that. Then we select, modify, expand, just 1. And then we're going to select, modify, contract, just 1. That puts us right there. That's actually not what I want to do. We're going to do it the other way. Select the window and select, or go to Layer, New, Layer, hit M, right click, stroke, set it to 10, outside, and OK. And don't worry, it looks kind of scary there, but actually I should have set that to 80%. Right click, stroke, change your opacity to 80%. There we go. Okay. You kind of got to pay attention as to where the part's going to go. So next we hit select, background, and select the white area between the parts. And layer 1, delete, and that pretty much erases what we don't need. And of course we forgot to change our hardness. Just for kicks, I'm going to connect these two because I want to. One way to do it so you don't have to worry about overlapping parts, use your select key, Control T, and drag it over till they just meet. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time it didn't. So Instead, M, select I, select B, set your opacity to 0 or to 100, mode normal. Just kind of fill it in. Control D and fill in that gap. And alright, we got that. And I'm looking here actually. I also want to fill that in. So we're going to Shift Control E flattens down. I fill that in because I'm seeing that there, which corresponds to that area. So now we have the black outline around the windows. Look at the picture again to make sure I'm not missing anything. Wait for Windows to decide if it's going to crash or not. Alright, yeah, that's all the way around the windows, including it. I guess there's a little side window there. So we go back to here. The hard part is we got our picture. Remember what this thing looks like assembled. I think we want that to be colored in, and that as well. Now what we're going to do, and before we call it final, we're going to do a test build. Hopefully everybody knows how to build a paper model. Alright, so we look. Alright, there's one more. It goes back on another, keeps going back, so. Just kind of fill in all the parts around the window to make them black. Just like that. Alright. So that is page 1. Now we're going to look some more. You'll notice on page 1, there is also the roundel and this orange stripe. What I'm going to do, looks like the orange stripe starts just right here. So what I'm going to do, new layer, D to make a default, B to draw, set this to 1. I'm just going to draw a straight line. Just like that. Because if you look, this is technically not a straight line. So, instead of a straight line, we're going to draw a somewhat curved line. Shift M changes our little outline here to a circle. And you just kind of draw somewhat curved, somewhat oval. Right click, stroke, set it to 1. Okay. See. M. Where's my stroke? M. I don't know what it's doing. Alright. Stroke inside and do that. Alright, and then we're going to erase most of this line, circle to make this line. Alright, we're going to continue this part in part 2. Alright, this is part 2. We're working on this curved orange line here. As you can see, it starts off wide and tapers. You can also see It is not at all shaped like this. But this is just a start, because what we're going to do is stretch this out until it gets to the shape we want. And then we're just going to select the part we want. That one. Sometimes you just gotta. There we go. Alright. They're doing some weird things on me. Got it sorted out though. So we want this line, but we don't want it this curved. So just take this and flatten it out. Alrighty. Alright. Anytime you just need some free space, just turn the background off. That way it'll give you a little free space to do what you need. Hit V, Alt, and the right arrow. That'll make it instant copy. Move it over with the arrow a little bit, then hit Control T. What we want to do is bring this to a point, roughly, from there. And delete these little figments that are left over here. We look here, and we don't quite want that fat though. We're going to go to select layer 1 copy, Control T. On this little mouse pad here, hit that to put the pivot. What we're doing is this is a pivot point, it rotates around. So this puts it in one of the corners, which is where we want it, because we don't want this gap here this big. So we're going to shrink it down to about there, I'd say. Alright, so this, Control E, brings it down. And we want to make sure we're at the right size. So what I do is I pick the one, I look at our picture, and it hits this window on the left side, and hits this window on the right side, but it kind of it hits here. Hit Control T. Grab this little square circle across here. That's the pivot point. Put it there. And move this so it goes about where you want it to go, about right there. Alright, so that puts that right where we want it. Then what we're going to do, hit this, use the L key to highlight the pull up a lasso, and then we're going to select everything just past. Double click to close the lasso. And what we want, we're going to line this up right there. So it met right there, which is there on that point. Hit Control T again. Move the pivot point to the corner, but we don't want it exactly in the corner. We want it a little bit up. And move it until that lines up right there. Now, this next part, hit B, gotta make your square large, and hit your plus right there. Put a dot right there. And L to open the lasso. Make sure you select that dot. And we're gonna pick up the arrow, move or select the stripe again. I made the stripe over large. We're not going to use all of it. Double click to close. Okay, grab. And you put that dot right there. And then pivot. Or Control T to pivot. Move your pivot point down to this corner here. And drag the pivot point to the dot. And turn it until that lines up. Control D to deselect, and then erase the dot. Alright, and that is where that hits. So, we want to erase this, B, and shrink it down to 1. And we kind of want to be far enough away that any color can get through there. E. And then just erase the rest of the thing. Make sure you get it all. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll even just hit that and just go right all the way up. Just like that, and Control D. Or just delete, and then Control D. So, now we're going to have to do a test build to make sure this actually lined up. But I'm pretty confident it looks like it will. Now, this section here is going to get interesting because we need it for the rest of the thing. And as you can see, it extends past the edge of the thing. If you hit Control T and scroll way out, you'll notice it's down here. But when you try and select, it only goes to the edge of the screen, edge of the paper. So, what I'm going to do, we're going to put that black dot again, which tells us where the corresponding black piece is, or line is on the second part. And we're going to select, actually, then we pull that whole thing, Alt and drag, and that makes a copy. Now this is going to go on to page 2. So we open that up, select that, drag that over to page 2. Then you can delete this. Then we're going to go down and delete the square. As you can see, it doesn't exactly, we're not using all of this line because it merges into the black. And just delete off as much as you can get. You're not going to get it all, but when we flatten it to put it on a paper, that'll disappear. Alright, so we got our orange stripe. Now, what about the other side? Not yet. Because we have to put the navy roundel on it. So, let me close this. I keep opening that. Back into Photoshop. File. Open. And one thing you want to do if you do any type of serious repaints is you want a folder of textures. Because it's a whole lot easier just to use what already exists than to have to draw by yourself. I got airline logos, Continental, Delta, American Airlines, British Airways, Aeroflot. Not sure what that one is. KLM looks like. More Delta. And I got insignia from many countries. Right now we're interested in the US. So we go to roundels, and I want this one. Alright, we're going to move into we're going to do this on the next thing. Alright, part 3, we're going to add the roundel. Go ahead and we've got it open, so hit Control A to select everything. Hit W, Alt, and we're going to deselect the area around the roundel. Control X. Don't save. Control V brings the roundel into here. Control T, and then we're going to drag it. One thing I always use is try to use something that would be a straight line. Like this will be a straight line when the model's sitting level. So kind of line it up on that. You notice it's a touch too large. While you've got it in manipulation mode, just kind of hit Shift and Alt, and that brings it down even all the way around. And then V so you can move it, and use the arrow keys to kind of put it where you want it. And we're going to Control E to bring it down to line it up with the stripe. Or you hit the Alt button, grab it and drag, and then hit the left arrow key while you're dragging it. That'll drag it in a straight line. And hit Edit. Where is it? Edit. Transform. Flip horizontal. And you try and line it up to about where you want it. Watch for you want to make sure like this part touches the black, so bring it till it does that. Just kind of visually make sure it looks centered, which it does. So then we're going to Control E to merge them down. Before I add the orange color, just make sure there isn't anything else on here. Like it looks like there's another black stripe right there. Which if I go to another thing, yeah, I see it kind of curves up. So, I don't know why I keep clicking that. Back to Photoshop. Let's put that right there. These are the two I'm using. Photoshop. Alright. Fortunately, we don't need to worry about that until page 2. Because one thing you want to do is you kind of want to compromise. If you've only got this door here, is this door here, and there's just a micro slim before the edge of the part. So we're going to kind of fudge on the markings a little and not add that stripe start that stripe till the next page. So I'm going to call that, we got all the parts done for this, or markings done for this section. I don't see anything that goes on the bottom. So I'm going to call that, you want to pick the orange color. Now it's military. Military likes to use standard colors. So you run your color chart. I've got a thing here. Different color charts used, and we're going to use International Orange. Select it, and we close. G, Control E to flatten the picture. Make sure I multiply 100%, and then just add your color. Alright, anywhere, sometimes Photoshop can't quite reach into tight corners. That's a fill, so you just do it manually. You notice we got a problem here. Apparently, it was not. So sometimes, this is why you always got to pay close attention. Fortunately, you can just step back until you get it right. And yeah, see, for some reason, This was not lined up. We'll just grab, make sure we're on layer 1. Just move this down. Apparently the parts weren't quite lined up with the... Alright, and that's how we want it. And if you need to get really close to make sure, go ahead and get really close. Alright. So, now we flatten. G, make sure I multiply 100%, and get our colors in. Alrighty, and like I said, if you can't make the tight corner, go in manually. Alrighty. This is going to finish page 1. Because there isn't much to the markings on this one, so it's nice and easy. You hit Control S to save. We're not going to close it, we're just going to move it over because we're going to need it for reference. Now we're going to start page 2. Alright, so page 2, you saw we did that mark. So that mark tells us that that is going to end up right there. And then remember we got the black DG8 to put it at 80% opacity. And then boom, boom, boom for our raccoon paint scheme. B to get set it to 8 to get the tight corners. Alright, so we got our raccoon eyes in. If you kind of have a look, you'll see where the continuation is. Alright, now our stripe. I don't know why that's blue. Sometimes you get things that get screwed up in the black and white. Not thinking what we're thinking here. Just, select it, contract by 1 to make sure you don't delete the outer line, and delete. Not sure if that's supposed to be a window, because it doesn't have any windows. Yeah. Not sure what that's going to be, so we're just going to leave it. Back to our stripe. Turn that back on. One thing I didn't do was a black mark to show. Alright. I forgot to mark where it corresponded on here so that I could help line it up. So, what we do, since it was lined up exactly already, don't do that. Alright, take this, line it up again.